friend Billy Barr. Go for Billy Barr. There's Billy Barr. 1 month before the election.
Fraud.
1 month before the
risk
election.
Of fraud and coercion.
But since then,
and until this administration,
haven't proved it.
Let me talk.
Yeah, please.
Let me talk.
And since that time, there've been in newspapers, in networks, academic studies saying it is open to fraud and coercion. The only time the narrative changed is after this administration came in. But elections that have been held with mail have found substantial fraud and.
All right, folks, that was Billy Barr, a former attorney general to President Trump, 1 month before the 2020 election. Welcome to another live stream from the Great American Mail. I think we advertised on Twitter that we were going to do this, so hopefully some folks will join in. If you've subscribed to our growing channel, we appreciate that. You'll get a notification. And the Great American Mail, as you know, we interpret the events of the day through the law, the Constitution, and history. We are a Georgia and Florida lawyer based out of Atlanta. So let's get right to the topic we want to cover tonight. It's going to be short. It's going to be brief. We're going to debunk Bill Barr's debunking of 2,000 Mules. And it's going to be pretty simple to do, pretty straightforward here. We've got just three open windows, as you can see, that we're going to go through here. This was Billy Barr the day before yesterday in front of the January 6 hearings, the witch hunt, the unconstitutional January 6 committee, talking about voter fraud and specifically mentioning 2,000 Mules. Take a listen.
That the election was not stolen by fraud. And I haven't seen anything since the election that changes my mind on that, including the 2,000 Mules movie.
Well, maybe you can assess that 2,000 Mules since people are talking about that.
Well, I mean, just in a nutshell, I just think the GBI was unimpressed with it, and I was similarly unimpressed with it because I think I was holding my fire on that to see what the photographic evidence was.
All right, so he's mentioned two problems. Let's go ahead and knock them out. What's the GBI, folks? GBI is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. You may well know, again, we're based in Atlanta, so we know this, that our governor is Governor Kemp. He's a Republican. We all know that this election issue, the Democrats have turned it into a pariah. There's no way it's going to get investigated in an election year. He's in a tight race with Stacey Abrams. So we don't know if they're impressed or not. Now, luckily for us, this happened in 2020. We've got a statute of limitations. If Kemp can win the governor's race, then presumably maybe we'll see what he'll do. But so that's a throwaway. Barr knows it. Don't know why he's saying that. Doesn't. Again, we just played Barr a moment ago. Before the election, wrought with fraud. Now, 2,000 Mules. I'm similarly unimpressed, waiting for the photographic data. We're going to come back to the photographic data. Let's go ahead and run to this. First point, GBI was unimpressed. We already explained that. Number two, photographic evidence. We're going to come back to that. We're going to let Dinesh D'Souza do it himself. Let's let him get to his third point.
Well, hell, if they have a lot of photographs of the same person dumping a lot of ballots in different boxes, that's hard to explain. So I wanted to see what the photographic evidence was. But the cell phone data is singularly unimpressive. I mean, it basically, if you take 2 million...
All right, so now he's talking about the cell phone data. Basically, in 2,000 Mules, they tracked the cell phone data, and you had to go by a left-wing group that was working for ballots and at least 10 different drop boxes, okay? Not buy them, but they also tracked, you had to stop, get out of your car, go up to it, because that cell phone data is that close. All right, but here's Barr talking about that data. Let him continue.
Of cell phones and figure out where they are physically in a big city like Atlanta or wherever.
We're living in Atlanta. It is a big city.
By definition, you're going to find many hundreds of them have passed by and spent time in the vicinity of these boxes. And the premise that, if you go by a box, 5 boxes or whatever it was, that's a mule is just indefensible. It by definition, you're going to have hundreds of this. I mean, I saw one contractor said, we figured out that our truck alone would account for 6 cell phone signals. This was some kind of contractor, and our route would take us by these things on a regular basis. So
all right, so let's stop right here. First off, it's not 5, Attorney General Barr, it's 10. Okay, and it's not suddenly unimpressive. Again, the person doesn't have to drive by them; it has to stop. These are drop boxes. These are not mailboxes. I live in Atlanta. I go quite a different routes. I go to a lot of different places. I guarantee I do not go past 10 mailboxes, much less drop boxes, on my daily route. But with no further ado, let's get to Dinesh D'Souza and let him debunk these first 2 points that Bill Barr has made. Here he goes.
I think is so powerful here is they set such a high bar, 10 or more drop boxes. Because see, let's say that they had set a bar of 2 drop boxes. Now, nobody has a reason to go to 2. Even if you have your family members' ballots, you're going to go put them in 1 drop box. But some guy was going to come forward and say, well, you know what, I put my ballots in the first box, I had to tie my shoe at the second box, so you're calling me a mule, I'm not a mule. So instead of all this nonsense, set a bar of 10 or more drop boxes. Let's remember, this isn't the post office. This isn't where you go to drop your bills off. These are only for ballots. There's no other reason to go to these drop boxes other than to dump ballots. And why would you go to 10 or more drop boxes unless you were stuffing them with ballots? So that's the sort of technological reasoning behind the power of the geo-tracking evidence. Now, I wish we had more video, but True the Vote does have 4 million minutes of video. So they have a lot, but unfortunately, a lot of drop boxes don't have video.
Now, right, folks, so he doesn't go into that in that interview. We're going to go back to Barr. But, folks, this is part of the problem that we have. In fact, if you listen to our show, Gamcast Today, we do a daily podcast on the current events. We talked about the fact that the Boston Globe has an article out today going, the emergency measures that were put in for COVID are now going to be permanent. And that's what happened. So what part of the agreement they did with respect to drop boxes? Oh, it's an emergency, got to have drop boxes. Oh, but don't worry, we'll have tons of safeguards. So we'll have cameras monitoring 24/7. Turns out only a few states actually had the cameras, Georgia being one of them. So True the Vote, for the video they have, they produced it. But the reason that Bill Barr says, well, the video evidence is similarly unimpressive, well, we can't give you what we don't have. And again, just to show you how corrupt he is, why isn't he sitting there going, well, it is a little suspicious that they had drop boxes that were supposed to have cameras 24/7, 365, and they didn't. But anyway, so what video evidence we do have does substantiate it. So again, and again, one more before I leave this. If Barr doesn't like the fact that they use 10, which I think is exceptional, then what about 15? What about 20? Okay? He's not concerned about voter fraud, but he continues.
But then when the movie came out, I think the photographic evidence in it was completely I mean, there was a little bit of it, but it was lacking. It didn't establish widespread.
Now, maybe he didn't watch the film and doesn't know that. But anyway, it's irresponsible to talk this way. But one last point he's going to make, and we're going to drop off after we debunk that one. But his last point, and again, folks, this is where we got him red-handed, this last one.
Harvesting. The other thing is people don't understand is that it's not clear that even if you can show harvesting, that changes the results of the election. Courts are not going to throw out votes.
Now, courts are not going to throw out votes. That's interesting. And Bill Barr knows this. So first off, it is illegal to give your pay to give someone your vote. Now, some states like California honestly will allow people to gather votes. It's not illegal. You can't pay. It's not illegal. But every state, right, makes it illegal to pay somebody to do it. But most states, including Georgia, it has to be a family member. You have to be a caregiver. It has to be a member of the same household. No way you're going to 10 different drop boxes. Okay, it's just not possible. But it doesn't mean the vote doesn't count. This is a common misconception that's out there, a fact check of 2000 Fuels, and it's an absolute lie. And here's how we know it's an absolute lie. This is from the LA Times. On the Great American Mail, folks, we do not go to the right-wing sources. We do not go to Fox News. We do not go to Newsmax. We don't go to Dave Shapiro's group. And that's anything wrong with those groups. I love those groups. I got no problem with them. A, we don't really follow anybody ourselves. But then B, we go to left-wing sites to debunk left-wing arguments. Okay, so this is the LA Times. We all know the LA Times leans left. Wonder when this was. This is February 27th of 2019. What are we going to be talking about here? Operative in North Carolina congressional race arrested in ballot harvesting case. Ballot harvesting, 2,000 mules. Let's read down here what's going on. From Raleigh, North Carolina, the political operatives at the center of an election fraud scandal has engulfed a North Carolina congressional race, was arrested Wednesday on charges of illegal ballot handling and conspiracy. Okay. 4 people working for him were also charged. Leslie McCrae Dallas Jr., 63, was accused of directing workers to collect and mail and other people's absentee ballots during the 2018 congressional primary and the 2016 general election. It is against the law in North Carolina for anyone other than the voter or a close relative to handle a mail-in ballot, a measure aimed at guarding against manipulation. Wow, okay. Prosecutors are still investigating evidence of ballot tampering by Dallas and other workers on behalf of the Republican candidate Mark Harris during last fall's congressional election in the mostly rural 9th District, which includes parts of Charlotte, my hometown, by the way, and extends eastward across several counties. The indictment represents the first charges in a scandal that has cast doubt on election integrity and will leave a congressional seat unfilled for months. These indictments should serve as a stern warning to anyone trying to defraud elections in North Carolina. State Election Director Kim Westbrook-Strach said. Dallas was arrested less than a week after the State Elections Board decided that his work for Harris, starting in the primary, tainted the Republicans' apparent victory in November. The board ordered a new election but hasn't set a date. Wow. You see it right here? They ordered a new election. You know what that means? They ordered a new election because all those ballots had to be thrown out. And that tainted the entire election. How does Billy Barr not know about this? Oh, he does know about it. He's lying, people. He's lying. I don't know why he's lying. I don't really care. But he has not debunked 2,000 Mules. So wherever you hear that, you now know that Bill Barr has been debunked. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, please share it, clip it. Tell people, subscribe, tell a friend to subscribe, etc. We will be live streaming the January 6th witch hunt show trial tomorrow. We have the other two. If you look down, if you subscribe, we've got those videos, live streams, and some other interesting videos about January 6th and other topics on the law. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, I hope you tune back in for our next one.